Hello folks, Reloading Bench back with you again, and for this short video I thought I would focus on brass cleaning, and not something I really think about too often. I've shown you videos years ago on how I clean my brass, sort and clean, and I use two methods. 99% of my cleaning of brass like this, whether it's pistol or bottleneck rifle, straight wall pistol, is dry tumbling with a particular media, and the other is wet tumbling with stainless steel pins, which is a bit messier, a little more prep. I mean, the extent of what I do with dry tumbling is just dump this stuff in a bin. I'm a big bin fan. I like bins. I have bins of all sizes. They come in very handy and they're very robust. So if I come back from a day at the range, in fact, I have a day at the range that I have yet to clean for 9 and 45 that's just sitting near my wonderful tumbler. So the reason I thought I would do this video at this time is because somebody brought it up during my cost to reload set of videos that I've done recently. I think the popular one is on 9mm. I did one on 416 Barrett as well, but 9mm is more universal to people. And there's just so many people that talk about, I tried to keep things pretty consistent with cost per component, primers, brass, powder, and bullets. And I didn't throw in hazmat. I didn't throw in shipping, taxes, fees to my local shop, depending on what I'm ordering or whatnot. And I still get the people that, well, what about your time? What about your equipment, the cost of your equipment? And one person even commented, what about the cleaning brass? And I'm like, wow, those are so negligible. And, I don't even know how I'd break down the cost of cleaning brass because I don't put a cost to my time. It's a hobby. I mean, when you're building a model airplane, do you build the cost of your time into, the cost of the plane, the glue, the paints, all that stuff? Probably not. And then when it gets down to the cost of equipment, that's a biggie because people will always default to, oh, it costs so much to start up. It can. You can spend as much as you want or as little as you want. You can start with a hand press. Lee makes a single stage hand press. You don't need a bench. You sit on a couch and do all your activities. Is it efficient? No. Is it cost effective? It depends on how you define cost effective. Or you can start with a single stage press, a $75 single stage press, $125 for a turret. So you can get into this hobby for not a lot of money. Sure, if you want to go out and buy a Dillon 1050 and have all the bells and whistles or whatever, yeah, you can spend thousands of dollars, but you can also do it for a lot less. So I don't really follow the cost of equipment concern so much because, again, it's kind of like all the tools in your garage. Do you evaluate the cost of your saw based on each cut of wood you make? No, but people have a tendency to get granular with, what's your break even, what's your cost for all your equipment. And I throw that back into the hobby category of, whatever my hobby is, I'm going to buy the gear to do my hobby. And I don't really look at it as, a cost that I have to recoup. It's just part of the hobby investment, just like anything else. So I don't focus on that. So I would dump brass, and then I would take my brass and I would put it in my tumbler, which is right over here on my bench, right there. And I'm going to dump this. I'm going to move that tumbler to right here, and I'm going to dump it, and I'll be back in a second. So there's only two places this tumbler resides or sits, and that is in the corner where I just showed it. I'm only moving it here on the top of my bench for recording purposes. Excuse me. Or on the floor. So if I'm running multiple batches, I would do one batch over there in the corner, and then when I dump this into my sorter sifter, I would then leave this on the garage floor and then do the second, third, or whatever, how many batches of this I would do. And this is the media I use. I use two medias. I use corn cob, but I use corn cob for polishing. I use this media, this Lyman Turbo media, which I have no idea what this stuff is. And this, to me, does the best cleaning job, meaning getting these clean. Doesn't do as good polishing, in my opinion, as corn cob, the yellow media. Let me get this out of the way. Murphy's Law says it'll drop. And this is what I paid for it last time. I don't know if the camera's picking that up. That's $18.95. So about 20 bucks for how many pounds? Does it say? 6 pounds. So, oh, it's called Tough Nut. And I found over the years that that does the best for me, and it also lasts the longest. Whereas corn cob, I would change that more frequently, which I don't do now because for me, polishing would be something like after cleaning 223. After cleaning 223, I would then, resize, and I'm using, wax to resize and Imperial Lube wax. And after it's resized, then I'm trimming, chamfering, deburring, loading it. It's still got a coating, so I would then throw it in the corn cob to clean the finished product up. So I will dump I'm going to say we'll dump half of that, and what I will do is grab another, again, I love bins, grab a smaller bin for the finished product so that we can compare the before and the after. So in terms of the time, and obviously I'm spending more time as I talk about this than I would actually do it. So I'll probably put this in here for an hour, maybe 90 minutes. A lot of times I'll do it at night, and then I'll be on the couch watching TV and forget about it. And then when I go upstairs, I'll hear the rumble of the tumbler. And that's it. That's the extent. Actually, that's pretty loud. That's the extent of what it takes me to clean my brass. And again, I'll show you the finishing product or the finishing steps once this is done. Back in a while. All right, we're at about 90 minutes later. And again, I would be doing this over in the corner and then dumping it into my sifter, my Frankfurt Arsenal sifter. I started years ago with the bucket, the 5-gallon bucket, and the round, the ball that sits on that. I know I'm going to hit the camera because everything's a little tight on the bench here. Because I do not normally do this on the bench, but for video purposes. So let me get this out of the way as well. All right, so this would be on the ground, the floor of the garage. All of this stuff. And I would dump this. And I'm going to probably hit the camera at least a few more times, so apologies in advance. And it's a little awkward because, again, I wouldn't be doing this in front of a camera with the camera in the way. I always wondered if that was going to wear out, and because the other one had a steel pin. And it's held up pretty well, so no complaints. Cover this up. Move some of this stuff out of the way because it's going to hit. All right, that's the extent of that. So I did some numbers. The Tough Nut, or whatever this Lyman Media was called, that I absolutely love. I think I paid $18, $18.95 was the total. So what I did was I took that number. Actually, let me do this. I took that number and I used a base number of about 15,000 casings that I would clean with that 6 pounds, and I came up with 1/1000th of a penny per casing. But of course, somebody will say, what about the cost of the tumbler and everything else? So I threw that in, and that came out to be 1/4000th of a penny, 4 times more. Again, so I would have to cost me a penny. So, I call that irrelevant for all practical purposes. All right, so let's compare another bin. Actually, we could just show this, but I'll do like all right, so that's what cleaned brass looks like for me and what dirty brass looks like for me. Can I get this nicer? Oh, absolutely. In fact, you'll find that there's a coating of the red dust on here. Again, so if you throw this in the corncob tumbler, it's a lot brighter. Is it as bright as if it would be with steel pins? Nope. No, it's not. No, it's not. So I'll throw those in. I will dump the media back in. And I reuse this media until it's almost, I wouldn't say black, but I use it until it's darker. A darker, deep red. A darker, deep red. And I'll start the process all over again. But that's it for me in cleaning brass. So this is what I would do for all pistol, bottleneck, pistol, rifle, any brass. This is my process. So, all of 5 minutes, to put it in some bins, separate it, put it in, separate it, clean it, sift it. So it's, in my opinion, negligible in terms of difficulty. But, it is what it is, and I got to find a place for my new extreme bullets, my 9mm. Yeah, it's relatively simple, and it's not time consuming, so I don't even know why somebody would bother to say, what about cleaning your brass? But that's how I clean my brass. Later. All right, folks, I figured since I was going through enough trouble to go over the brass, here's the second batch of brass, and I thought, they look, what I would say, comparable for old brass. They don't look as nice as, the brass, that I've done. So I don't know how long these were sitting in that bag. Don't really care. They're cleanish. So I thought I would demonstrate the polish factor, because I have another Frankfurt tumbler that matches my dry tumbler right there that I just used to clean all these. So that contains the tough nut. This one contains the corncob media. And as you can see, it's not super yellowy. So that means I've used it a lot. It gets tingy red from the tough nut. So I thought I'd do a comparison batch of polishing the brass. And I'll probably let this go for 15-20 minutes and come back, and you can see what polished brass, the difference between the polished brass and the clean brass. Back shortly. Where's the on button? There we go. All right, that's been about 15 minutes. the unpolished. Put that off to the side. Actually, we will got to sort first, so I'm going to put this on top of. Again, normally I don't do my sifting on the bench. I do it on the garage floor. And the camera's going to be in the way, of course. And for anyone saying, oh, you're mixing your cleaning and your polishing media, I don't care. Oh, I had this on backwards. Someone will complain about that too. Yeah. Let me flip this over. I need to move stuff. All right, take two. That is, again, not paying attention. So hopefully you can see the difference. A little nicer polish than this. Maybe the camera's picking it up, maybe it's not. You know, marginally different. Will I polish these? No. These will go into storage. So all of this brass, probably not in this bag because of the dirtiness of the bag, but so this will get tossed, and this will all get thrown into a storage bag for whenever I feel like reloading. So I don't keep all my brass prepped. In fact, I showed earlier, as I hit the camera again, and I even delineate between small base for my lever versus just a regular standard die for reseating, for resizing. And the way I tell, I have a couple telltale signs of what stage my brass is in. So if my brass is in one of these containers under the bench, it's usually ready to shoot. And the difference being, it's already been deprimed. I know it's been resized, because when you look at the degree of shine on the throat of the neck, tells me it's been deburred and chamfered. So ready to process, ready to reload. All right, that is it for today. Take care, folks.